So, hello all. Good morning, ma'am. Good afternoon. So, I'm Tanuj V from 5th Sem B section of CSE department, and I am here to present about copyrights and its related rights 16. So the first part is classes of copyrights. There are various classes of copyrights according to what we have seen from the textbook. There is literature, drama, artistic, musical, and cinematograph films. So when we talk about literature, we have um, the parts such as books, essays, research articles, oral speeches, lectures, compilations, computer programs, software databases. And the second one is dramatics. It includes screenplays and dramas. Then there is artistics, which include drawing, painting, logo, maps, charts, photographs, work of architecture, engravings, and craftsmanship. In the musical part, we have musical notations, which includes other actions intended to be spoken or performed with the music. So yeah, there is one more which is cinematograph film. It's a visual recording performed by any medium formed through a process and includes a sound recording. So when we go through all these classes of copyrights, it's related to either literatures or cinematography. So if someone uses this without the consent of the owner or the copyright owner, then there will be a copyright strike issued against the user, as seen. Then we have the criteria for copyrights. The criteria for copyrights includes to qualify for the copyright protection, a work must exist in some physical form, such as the duration of the existence of the physical form may vary from very short period to many years. Virtually any form of expressions which can be viewed or listened to is eligible for to be qualified as copyright. Even hurriedly scribbled notes for an impromptu speech are considered copyrightable material. The copyright work has to be expressed by the creator in his frame of thought. In other words, the work has to be original. The author created it from independent thinking, void of duplication. This type of work is termed as original work of authorship, also known as OWA. It may appear similar to already existing works, but should not be the same. The original work may be a lack of quality and quantity or aesthetic merit of all those parameters, still it will pass the test of copyrightable work. So when we go through the criteria for the copyright, it includes the small factors such as duration of the existence, the words spoken, and the original work of authorship. So, if there is any clip, any recording, any part which is used without which is copyrightable, and it is used without the use without the information of the copyright owner, then there will be a copyright issued. So, the ownership of copyright. So the ownership of copyrights contains around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Yeah, it contains around 5 points. The first is initial ownership. The person who creates an original works fixed in a tangible medium is typically the initial owner of the copyright. So this explains that the artistic works such as writing, painting, recording, it's owned by a person, and he can issue a copyright if someone else uses and is making a business out of it without his consent. The transfer of ownership. Copyrights can be sold, transferred, or assigned either in a whole or in a part. So the copyright owner can provide his ownership to another person or transfer it, and either in a whole or a part means he can either give a part of the content to be used or the whole content. So joint ownership. So the same this explains if two or more people creates a work together, they may jointly own the copyright. Joint owners typically share equal rights unless otherwise agreed upon. So let's say there is a work which is done by two people, so they both are the owners of the work, and they contain they both get the copyright works together. So the joint owners can typically share their equal rights unless and otherwise agreed upon. The duration of the copyright. Copyrights usually last for the life of author plus 70 years. So here we have seen that the author can have the copyright for his whole life plus 70 years. So works for hire or anonymous work. Copyright typically lasts 95 years from publication or 120 years from creation, whichever is shorter it works. And moral and economic rights. In some jurisdictions, authors retain certain moral rights, the right to attribution or to prevent distortion of the work, So it contains two rights, as I'm going to explain in the upcoming slides. There are two rights, such as moral and economic. The economic rights explains about how the copies of the work can be duplicated and is explained to the people in the public, and many more things. In some jurisdictions, author can retain certain moral rights. For example, the right of attribution or to prevent distortion of the work, even if the economic rights are transferred. So there are two types of copyrights, as I had told before. There is economic rights and moral rights. So the first economic rights is a reproduction of the work in any form, including printed publications or sound recordings. This includes works such as works which can be duplicated or can be given for other publications for the use. Then distribution of copies of the work. The copies can be duplicated and given to other people with the permission of the copyright owner, and he has the rights over it. Public performance of the work. The public performance of the work means that the work which is being performed by the owner, I mean the copyrightable work, should be explained in the public and should be performed in the public, and it can be translated to another language with the permission of the copyright owner. And broadcasting communication the work to the public. Yeah, this is the same thing I have told. So the owner can communicate the work publicly to the people around and explain about the product. The second part is the moral rights, the right of paternity and the right of integrity. The right of integrity means he has all the power to hold. I mean, he has all the rights to take care of the product and protect the quality of the product. Right of paternity includes the works which has been done by him. Maybe, yeah. Copyright infringements. According to Section 63 of the Copyright Act 1957, if any person knowingly infringes the copyright, he qualifies for the criminal offense. The punishment awarded for the infringement of copyright is imprisonment for 6 months with the minimum fine of 50,000. So as you can see, there is a case where if a person is if a person uses another person's material without his without the owner's acceptance, then the punishment awarded for infringement is imprisonment, or sometimes with a minimum fees of 50,000. Yeah. The second case is subsequently conviction. The minimum punishment is imprisonment for 1 year and a fine of 1 lakh. Yeah. There is a dedicated IP division to deal with copyright cases. Also, there is a copyright board constituted by the central government in 1958 to adjudicate certain claims about copyrights. Fair use doctrine. So the fair use doctrine explains a few parts of the copyright and how it can be used. The use should be non-commercial, educational, or personal. Commercial use is less likely qualifiable as fair use compared to non-profit educational purposes. The nature of the work. Factual works such as research papers, historical accounts are more likely to qualify for fair use than imaginative works. Yeah, it includes even works such as novels and films. So, as I can explain, if we use another person's content in our publications or our films which we are making, then it's not a fair use. And creating creative or unpublished works are afforded higher protection. So all the creative works and the works which are not published yet are afforded higher protection from the public, so people don't use it. And the you yeah so that people don't use it. The amount used, only a small portion of the work should be used relative to the whole. This criterion is subjective and context dependent, but the less used, the more likely is to be the fair use. Effect on the market value. The use should not negatively impact the economic value or the potential market of the copyright work. So the use of the product should not affect the economical value and the potential market of the copyrighted work. So we have copyrights and the internet. When explaining about copyrights and the internet, there are many parts. There's caution with online material, personal versus commercial use, copyright notice for distribution, compliance with Copyright Act, and fair use and education. Caution with online material. Verify the copyright status of online content before downloading or using it. Materials on the internet may not always be legally shared. So, personal versus commercial use. Posting materials online by the copyright owner generally permits personal use, but commercial use requires explicit permissions. So, copyright notice for distributions. When distributing copyrighted work electronically, includes a statement such as the work is protected by copyright laws and is provided for educational instructions only. Infringing use may lead to legal consequences. Compliance with Copyright Act 1957. So literary works includes computer programs and databases, and registering this requires submitting both source code and object code. Fair use and education. Limited use of copyrighted material for educational or research purposes is permissible under fair use, but always respect the rights and economic interests of the creator. So if I let's make clean one point one by one. So caution with online material. So all the online materials are not always legal, and it's better to not be not shared without any information, because the internet is a very big database of many informations which has to be taken care of before sharing, as it may lead to it may lead to copyright infringements and much more. So personal versus commercial use. Posting materials online by copyright owners generally permits personal use. So the copyright materials such as the copyright materials, let's say such as movies, they are for personal use. They are not used for any other commercial use. So the point is that whatever content we are using on behalf of the copyright owner should not be used for our own financial beneficious. I mean beneficial, because once we do that, it's not a fair use of the copyright, and if we can use it for our personal work and understand what is the original work of the copyright owner and what he has published. So, copyright notice for distribution. When distributing copyrighted works electronically, includes a statement such as this work is protected by copyright laws. So, any work which is published on behalf, on the part of being a copyright material, there is a statement always which includes this work is protected by copyright laws. So there will be a hefty amount of laws on copyrights which should be taken care before publishing it, and it is provided for educational instructions only. So yeah, this is what explains about the copyrights laws. It's provided for educational instructions only. Infringing use may lead to legal consequences. So the fourth point is compliance with Copyright Act 1957. Literary works include computer programs in database, and registering these requires submitting both source code and object code. Fair use and education. Limited use of copyrighted material for educational or research purposes is permissible. So there is a limited amount of information which can be used, and it is permissible, and there is no copyright infringement which will affect the material and the fair use, but always respect the rights and economic interest of the creator. So before using the copyrighted material, we have to take care of few things, such as it should not affect the reputation of the copyright material, and it should respect the rights of the owner of the author who's creating it, and economic interest of the creator should be taken care. So the when we use a copyrighted material, it should not affect the product's quality, the product's economic value, I mean the price, and it should be taken care by the person who is using it. And throughout this, we understand the fair use of the doctrine as copyrights and internet. This section also provides how how things can be used in a fairly manner. Yeah, and that is how everything is explained. That is what I have explained about copyrights and all its classes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.